Shin to shin concepts, pulling versus doing nothing, and wrist deep and elbow deep. When you use shin to shin, one of the things that I believe is most overlooked is how we use it. Shin to shin, it's a very aggressive style of seated guard. And the premise of shin to shin is to pull my training partner onto me. Remember what we need for a great shin to shin. I need a low ankle or basically ankle to ankle type of situation. My left leg in this scenario needs to be well hooked and engaged. It can't be just a flat lazy hook. It needs to be actually hooked up and engaged. And my left knee needs to split the difference basically between the floor and his leg, which is more or less, I guess you could say, a 45-degree angle there off to the side. So if we switch, Lance, would you switch for me? If you switch, you'd see my knee here is angled up. It's definitely not down low. This would not give me much power versus a driving opponent. I need to have that leg angled up. With our arms, we need an elbow deep rather than a wrist deep. Wrist deep, we will definitely go and get our training partner's leg initially with a wrist grip. But when we get shin to shin, what we really are looking for is this elbow deep position. I also want you to keep in mind that his knee should be almost stuck on my chest. It's not going to be that way all the time, but my goal is to constantly be pulling his knee to my chest. Or very close to that point. Now, let's get back to the discussion of pulling rather than just sitting here, okay? Here's what I need to do. I'm going to be pulling with my upper body and pushing with my inside leg. When we're discussing shin to shin no-gi, which is the first part of our tutorial here, I don't need a foot on the thigh. When we're talking about the gi, I'm going to have my foot based on that thigh just to give me a few more options. Without the gi, we're able to cut right to the chase because the lack of grip is a big difference on what my right leg will be doing and what your leg will be doing as well. So with my upper body, I am constantly pulling. With my right leg, the center leg, it's in between his leg, and it is pushing. My job is to pull, push, and literally pull my training partner up onto me, okay? Which is gonna set up all of our attacks on double legs, on singles, on leg entries, etc., etc. But why do we need all this? Why do I need an elbow deep? Why do I need my hook flexed up? Why do I need my knee at that angle? It's really because once I've established my goal, if you notice Lance's posture is very good. If he rides that wave, I have a knee sitting on the center of my chest, but you can clearly hear that I'm talking to you with very little stress. The reason I'm talking to you with very little stress is because I can elevate the weight up off of my chest using these scenarios. There's zero space between my armpit versus a wrist deep, which we'll go over and I'll show you momentarily. But there's zero space. It allows me to hold this knee tight. Meanwhile, I can keep his weight off of me with a very good active hook and a closed knee. So I want to make sure that you are constantly pulling someone onto you. And it is an aggressive pull. I don't just lean. We are pulling because you're going to get all of your attacks based on that pull, which we'll dive into here shortly. Let's discuss quickly why you want to use an elbow deep rather than a wrist deep. This is a very, very important scenario that could happen. If I get a wrist deep here, it's going to leave a massive amount of space between my armpit and my leg. And if I switch with Lance, what can happen when there's a wrist deep is that I can simply make an underhook. I can drive my body forward. I can put my head on the mat, and all of a sudden, I start my floating passing. It's just a formality that even if Lance's leg is up here, it's a formality that I push the leg out, I rework my hook, and all of a sudden, I'm in a knee-cutting scenario. So if you find yourself in a knee cut scenario from shin to shin, just check one thing. Check to see if you're wrist deep when you're in the seated position or if you're elbow deep in the seated position. Most likely you are wrist deep, and it leaves a massive space for your training partner to dig their elbow deep in and start driving. And that will literally be the demise of your shin to shin. And you could then think, my shin to shin doesn't work. It's not a good guard. And that's specifically just because you were wrist deep instead of elbow deep. So check that off of your list if that scenario is happening. And just recall, we're always pulling, and we're always pushing with our inside leg. Let's get ready to get into some great techniques now. All right, we'll discuss a little bit of the theme of, when do we pull versus when do we spin? I'm a big believer in pulling, as I mentioned on a previous video. And why is that? Why it sets up a majority of our offense. And because what spinning could look like. It can be good. It can be used for a reason. I'm going to discuss why I would want you to use spinning on shin to shin versus pulling, although it is very limited. So if Lance's legs are quite wide, okay, this would be an ideal time where we could spin. Now again, there are different gi techniques than no gi techniques. So when I'm discussing the first part of our tutorial, I'm going to be discussing with you the various no-gi strategies and tactics with shin to shin. When we put the gis on later, you will notice that there are more things that I can do, and that's when spinning, it can be much more beneficial. But right now, make no mistake, with no gi, I'm adamant that number one, we should be pulling. And I'll explain to you exactly why. With no gi, when we spin, let's start out with just why we would spin, okay? We spin basically to get on that leg and go into an X guard, right? So what it would look like, instead of pulling, it would look like this. I spin under Lance, I let this leg go, I flip it out to the side, and I end up on X guard on the opposite leg. And once again, you saw that I spun to the opposite leg. Now I'm on X guard on this side. So it's a great 1-2 punch. If I'm really getting good shin to shin action here, and Lance takes a step out wide to say, hey, I'm going to stay away from you, then you could spin underneath, especially if you like X guards, because we can get an X guard on this leg very easy by pulling. Well, we can also get the X guard on that leg, but with a spin. When you spin, we'll use this left leg, and I'll go over this again in a lot more detail for you later when we're doing our X guard entries. But this would be why I would spin. I would spin under, I would kick this leg out to the side, and then I would be into X guard on this side with my specific X guard attacks. Without the gi, that's about the only time that you're going to really want to spin. There is a double leg that we'll do very early on that I get to my hip, but we're not spinning all the way underneath on our back. Now, let me convince you, if you believe otherwise, let me tell you why I interpret shin to shin like this. So Lance is going to change the positions, and he's going to lock on a shin to shin, elbow deep, everything looks good. The problem with spinning without the gi, when we don't have a lot of gripping on this side, on this arm per se, the problem is if I have a lot of experience in shin to shin as well, and Lance begins to spin, I can time that spin and I can sit down with him in this near knee cut scenario. And it doesn't feel good for him. I've got my weight off of him, and my foot can be pointed. If we rotate around, I'm going to spin him around so it'll be front for camera. If we rotate around for you guys, as he spins, what happens is this. My knee is no longer on the center of his chest, which you might think, hey, that's great. It's actually not so great, because what it does is it doesn't allow him to lift my foot. If he lifts my foot now, you see, like, I don't go anywhere. It doesn't affect my weight whatsoever. It doesn't make me post my hands on the mat. It doesn't do anything beneficial to him. What is beneficial to him is just that my weight is not on his chest. But as we mentioned earlier, if you've got elbow deep and you've got a good active hook and a good knee position, the weight, you will not feel his weight on your chest anyway. So what spin will do is get me, the top player, into this position where now I can begin backpedaling, I can begin overhooking, and I can begin my knee cutting. And we have all kinds of darce attacks. We have all kinds of different things here. Even if he's elbow deep, because we're not going under the space between the armpit front, I'm going in the space as an overhook, which is completely different as I get off to the side. So it's going to allow your opponent, your training partner, in this case me versus him if he's on the bottom, it's going to allow me to counter. And it's going to allow me to start to get away from all of the majority of attacks. One other really nice thing to note is when you spin, you lose the ability of high level leg attacks, even though it looks like you don't. Again, spinning, if Lance spun and pulls my leg, this is what spinning looks like. You can pull my leg into ashigarami, so you can shoot that through. Yeah, looks like that is good. This is great, as long as I don't follow him down. So, again, if I'm very, very good and adept at shin to shin, and he spins and I just come down with him, again, it's very hard to get into ashigarami because the angle of his knee is not good. He's got to pull my leg all the way over there when he's on one hip. It's going to be so difficult. And then now I can start to sprawl, I can start to knee cut, I can start to get my chest down, and then shin to shin starts to become more and more ineffective, especially if you don't have a single. If you have a great single, you can still bump the person forward and come out on a single, but that's not the idea. The idea is to use shin to shin as an immediate offense, and we'll go over how we can use singles later in the videos. But ideally, that spinning can end up being quite not as good as what you might want. So let's focus with no gi on pulling for the next several videos, and then we can look at our spin entry into X guard, which in my opinion, no gi is more or less one of the only reasons why I believe that we should be spinning with no gi. Touch it, so it looks like this. Okay, we're going to look at when someone steps in the middle. Now, I'm going to take you through entries on the shin to shin a bit later, but namely, stepping into the middle happens so often that when Lance steps into the middle, it's not a difficult thing to go into shin to shin. And this is where we're going to start a lot of our attacking. I mentioned a little while ago that we're going to be using elbow deep exclusively from shin to shin. Here is where we'll need a wrist deep type of position momentarily. And what we'll do is we'll lean to the middle and catch the back of his knee with my wrist deep grip. Okay. The same time we catch the wrist grip or his knee with a wrist deep grip, I'm going to also pin. I'm going to pummel my foot underneath his, and then you better believe I am getting to that elbow deep position. This is going to set us up nicely because if you do feel you go wrist deep and you start to pummel and Lance begins to make that underhook on my arm, then that's when I use this right foot, okay? The right foot comes up. I would not accept a wrist deep, would definitely not accept laying down with a wrist deep grip versus an underhook. This would be a very bad thing for me. So then we would switch to an inside grip. I would re-pummel, and now I'm ready to rock and roll, okay? And again, we'll touch on these entries in a bit later. Right now, we'll go elbow, wrist deep. I'll lean into the middle. We'll pummel our leg through, and then wham, elbow deep, and we are pulling. Okay, we're pulling. Now, and I'm pushing with the inside leg. Our probably my favorite attack early on is this double leg. Okay, there are two versions of this because mainly it's because of my training partner's reaction. Okay, one reaction will be nothing, and I will pull him onto me, and as I pull him onto me, we'll just catch his leg, and we'll be able to get to the top pretty early, which I'll show you right now. The second one, which we'll look at in the next video, is when he reacts. Okay, so our first one is he doesn't really have a strong reaction. It may be because I just out-time him, maybe because he just doesn't have a lot of experience in this area. But here's what happens. I pull him onto me, and his hands post on the mat, and this foot comes forward. So as I pull him, yep, there it goes. All right, and what happens is my right arm, if I stick my right arm out there, it basically catches his ankle, right, with no thumb to catch the ankle. Because of the benefits of shin to shin that we talked about earlier from laying flat on my back, which is, in this case, it is that lifting of the leg, here's what we'll get. I'll pull with the ankle, I'll lift Lance's leg to his other leg, okay, with my left leg. So we'll lift it across his body to his other opposite leg, and then I'll lasso his leg with my left arm, okay? So as we use our shin to shin to lift and place his legs right beside each other, I'll lasso both of his legs with my left hand. When we're doing this, when you guys are doing this, you must pull up on your elbow, and my forehead needs to go directly into the side of his quad. So let's focus on this for a minute. The leg, we already know what it does. But let's focus on my forehead going right to the inside of the quad, and my arm, I'm up on my elbow. Okay, I don't want us to stay on our shoulder. This is going to be a very difficult thing to get up. I want my head on the inside of his quad, and I need to come up on my elbow. So leg goes to his leg. We lasso both legs with my left arm. Meanwhile, I'm pulling myself right up to my elbow, and my head is on the inside of Lance's quad. Okay. Once we get to this position where his legs are bound together, we don't need the shin to shin. So I'm going to let that go, and I'm going to come up off my hip and step over so my left knee goes to the mat. Once my left knee goes to the mat, I can now come up, because the weight goes into my left leg. I can come up, I can pick the far leg up, and I'll bring this leg up, my left leg up off the floor, and then we're ready to start our knee cutting or whatever passing strategies that you might want to start. So again, when we're going, it's imperative that you get up on your elbow, okay? The other thing that I want to focus on, for you to focus on, is getting this left knee on the mat. The most common mistake I believe I see here is that my students might try to keep this foot posted on the floor. And then what happens is it becomes hard to get your head up. So I'm going to show you guys that now. Not necessarily posted on the floor, but just the head down. It's pretty critical that we bring our head up when we finish in this position. Otherwise, I'm going to be pretty much in a very bad low single leg or low double. And if Lance gets on my head, it's not hard at all for him basically to turn, kick out, or hip heist his way up while keeping my head down. So if I get this reaction, his hands go to the mat, everything looks good, I pull myself in, and hey, I even did this well. I'm not on my shoulder, check. I'm on my elbow, check. I lasso the legs, check. I got rid of the shin to shin, check. If I put this leg up, it's number one, it's gonna be hard to yank his leg out. I don't have any weight going over there into his leg. So let's make sure that knee goes on the mat, which drives my body into his legs. So that looks good. Well, okay, I pull his leg out, and this looks good, but I keep my head low. What can happen is Lance can sit on his hip, and then he uses his right hand to stiff arm my head away, and now he can bring his knees to his chest, there he goes, and he can turn away and kick out, and then all of a sudden, man, I had such a good scenario, and I lost it. Okay? And the only reason why I lost it is because my head stayed low. When your knee gets on the other side, the weight goes into his legs to knock him over. Get your head up and lift his, what it will be this double leg ankle. Lift it high to the ceiling. So that I promise you that if his leg is up to the ceiling, it'll be a rare individual that can stand up. Okay? If he does, you might want to look at his wardrobe because he probably has an S costume throughout his closet. So again, we go right here. I pull myself in. We lasso. I got the knee down. Awesome. Now, head up. Head up. Bring the foot to the ceiling. And now there's no chance that he's going to get up before you or push your head away and give you those problems. So now I'm ready to start going. You guys can stand up if you want to stand up, or you can begin coming down into the lower smash passes. Completely up to you. But the main premise is that we get our knee on the mat and that we quickly stand up and pull the ankle up off the floor. This gives me a surefire way to go from bottom to top. So I'm just going to do this technique without Lance real quick, just so you guys see the pattern. So again, we're pulling. This hand will be out, ready to catch the ankle. As it catches the ankle, you will be flat. As it catches the ankle, we begin taking the leg to the other one, which is that transfer of weight. You're going to be using his leg to help you pull yourself to the seated position. Your forehead is on the inside of the quad. We lasso the leg, and then the knee goes to the mat, which lets you pull the leg up to the ceiling, or his heel to the ceiling, and begin coming up to that standing position or that passing position. So keep those things in mind, exceptionally important. So one more time, I'll take you through it sort of relatively smooth instead of chatting so much. So once we go, we're going to pull, we're going to bring our head, the main things, we're going to bring our head to the inside of the thigh. I'm going to bring my hand, I'm going to cup his ankle with my hand, bring myself up on my elbow, and then make sure my far knee touches. So it looks like this. Okay, let's look at situation number 2. So I told you on the last video, there's basically 2 really strong versions of this quote-unquote double leg. One, there's not much reaction, so Lance comes forward with me, his hands come on the mat, and then we lay flat on our back and come up. This one, he's either had this happen, he's got a lot of experience in shin to shin, or it just has great reactions. When you push and pull, he puts his weight way, he really doesn't want me to pull him onto me. Perfect. That is the perfect time to use this second double leg technique. There's a bit of a spin, okay? When we spin, I'm not spinning flat to my back, I'm gonna spin directly to that leg. And my elbow will go on the floor. So let's focus on that part of the technique first. When I spin, I'm looking to get to that same exact scenario where my hand is on the ankle with no thumb. My elbow is posted on the mat, just like our last double, and my forehead is glued right to the inside of his quad. So not the top of my head, the forehead. The forehead goes there, okay? When we couple that with, it is a rotation on my hip, but when we couple that with an elevation of my inside leg, my inside hook is going to actually elevate his leg up and backwards. And when I do that, it's going to basically take this leg off the floor and put all the weight onto that leg. And that's why when we come careening over there, bang, he just falls because this leg is off the mat. So now let's focus on what this leg does. My hook is going to, as I spin, my hook is going to lift his leg up off the mat. So it's off the floor. There's only one leg on the floor, and that's this one right here. So what we'll do is we'll rotate around. Just want to make sure that we see that, and you see that for sure. He puts the weight back. When I rotate, look how easy it is. I remove this leg. All the weight is now here, so that when you bump it, he goes right down. He just goes down right away. It's one of the most fascinating, quick, easy sweeps that you can do, and it's very, very, very versatile. So elbow deep on the mat. He puts all the weight there. I have a small rotation on my hip. Lift this leg and go catch this one. And then now he's gonna fall. And when he falls, let's get rid of the shin to shin. You don't need it. So let's get rid of that so I can begin pulling this leg up off the mat and begin a passing scenario that works for you. There are all kinds of passing scenarios that you can get into. You can get up, you can do your knee cuts, you can get in, and you can work more of your smash passing, whatever passing system that you like. It's going to most likely be an open guard passing system. And it will most likely be a passing system that begins with a knee in the middle, whether they counter it, you go into butterfly guard, so forth and so on. It's your choice. But you will be able to go on the offense as long as you keep that leg up off the floor. So once again, the reaction is super specific. It is when the weight goes back. I can't keep pulling them onto me when the weight goes back like that. So lift, hit it, come back, pull it, and you're going to be pleasantly surprised when you start hitting this on people that because you've already done the other double legs or you've been threatening on their legs with an inside or into ashigaramis or inside sekakus or bear traps, you're gonna be pleasantly surprised how fast your training partner falls down when you hit this well. So just remember, scenario is super important. You use the right tool for the right job, and that you lift with this hook. You must lift with your inside hook, which turns, not only does it just put this leg up on the floor, it literally turns its hip to face that opposite leg. And there's just not any more motion for him. His hips are tied, his legs are bound, and he's gonna fall. Probably one of the most important points, forehead right on the quad, and it keeps his knee open so that when he goes down, there's very little reaction that he might have. So hope you like that one. Good. Look at Johnny, it's a problem. Did you want to do one at the end? Yeah, let's do one at the end. So this is what it looks like one more time, that it might look smooth for you guys. Again, same scenario. I'll just go through without really telling you what it is. All right, so we're gonna look at another scenario. Instead of him either coming onto me or he puts his weight back, we are gonna look at a scenario where he rides the knee on the stomach. He's got very good sensitivity. His weight is done right, so he puts his hips straight up in line. He doesn't step far enough, or his hands don't post on the floor, so the double leg is very difficult. That leaves him open and gives us the opportunity to just go into the legs. Now I'm gonna show you the first thing is just an ashigarami entry. So it's a standard foot lock, what's typically referred to as a rimi ashigarami. But mind you, if you don't need to practice a specific rule set, then there's no reason to go to ashigarami. Unless you need to use it to scoop up for your full X. In my opinion, it's just so much better just to reap the leg immediately and work into whatever leg attacks that you prefer off that reap leg scenario. But I am going to work with you on ashigarami entries. I do understand that every academy may have its certain rules and versus leg reaping, and certainly there are many tournaments that don't allow leg reaping until the upper levels. So let's look at how to get from a shin to shin into the rimi ashigarami. So same, I'm going flat on my back. I still am a big believer that flat is better for ashigaramis versus spin, as I noted with you earlier. So this time I'm pulling, he rides that, and it's like, yeah, he's got all his weight going through my stomach, okay? So we have to remember, I have to bring my right knee with me if we're gonna pummel this left leg to the middle. Otherwise, you're gonna pull the mount. So let me demonstrate that for you. If I'm here with this leg here, I'm gonna be kicking this leg up into the middle and shooting it through. Well, that would be Christmas come early for Lance. And if you want to give your training partner a nice birthday surprise, go ahead and pull him out for him. But otherwise, I need this knee up the middle. It's my block. Okay, it's my block. So when we bring him onto us and he does ride, then I know, hey, this is ashigarami territory. It is no longer the double leg, it's ashigarami territory. So my right leg is ready, okay? It can drift. We're gonna drift it either from anywhere from this leg, because there's many positions here, anywhere from up on this hip, down to this knee, to even over on this hip is where this leg could go. For right now, let's just keep it up by this hip, because we know we're going to do ashigarami. We're not going to do bear trap. We know we're going to do ashigarami. So it's going to be on this hip, okay? When we go, I'm going to begin lifting or putting Lance a little bit forward with my right leg. My right hand is going to be blocking this knee. so I don't get mounted. Now, because of the shin to shin, we can lift, and then I kick my left leg straight to the ceiling. It almost puts his leg into my armpit for me. I don't have to really pull much. If you do a really good job with your knee position, and because my left foot is on the inside already, when you lift and shoot your foot straight to the ceiling, his leg should end up here for you, okay? No mystery. I have an inside hook on this side. My left leg can now wrap around, and then we have our ashigarami. It's ready to go, okay? So we went from shin to shin into an ashigarami. Or the Arimi style, or the standard ashigarami, that entry ashigarami. So let's take it through this again, making sure that we focus now. Let's focus on this left leg, the hooking leg, the leg that's really doing a majority of the work. As a matter of fact, let's rotate around so you can see a little bit better what this leg is actually doing. So when we're here, as I mentioned, I bring Lance onto me. He just falls down. Okay? He's got good balance. He rides that knee on the stomach, and he's here. My left leg, if my knee is tight, my left foot is already in the middle. It's inside. Now it's just a formality of having his foot slide down my shin and right into my armpit, and now it's just, we're ready to go. We have an overwrap. You can let go of that overwrap if you wish, or you can keep it. But now it's just a formality of bringing my hips up by the knee, and we have our Iremi Ashigarami. So let's just stay on this angle. We'll just look at that one more time. Again, elbow deep. We have our elbow deep position. I am pulling, and my left foot is on the inside. Remember, look, it's on the inside. So it's just a formality when we bring him on to get that foot and point it to the ceiling, extending your foot so your shin is a slide. It's literally acts like a slide for his leg. One of the biggest mistakes I see when we get there is that individuals take their foot out. So it's really, okay, we are great, but then if I take my foot out, now he's got the inside, I have no chance to get the ashigarami, okay? Now it's literally a seated guard position, and I'm gonna get smushed because I don't have that shin. So please don't take your foot out. Shoot your foot up the middle, all right? When we fall down, we bring our knee with us. Just shoot your foot up the middle, extend your leg, there goes his leg, and we're up on ashigarami, and we're ready to hit our offense. So just real smooth. What it looks like is simple. He rides the weight with me, and I'm just going to shoot it. Okay. One more time. We'll do it from this side so you can see. And just don't forget about this right hand. We're going to really use it later. So it's important that it monitors that leg. Let's do a quick discussion about the ashigarami, okay? What we need from our wrapping leg, and what we need from our hooked leg, and what we need from our hip, okay? When we do an ashigarami, when our training partner is standing up over the top of us, we are going to need an inside leg position, which is my right leg in this scenario. Okay, my right leg is on the inside. We're gonna need a wrapped leg position, which is my left leg. It's gonna wrap around his leg. Ideally, when you start doing these ashigarami entries, it is much easier if his ankle is in my armpit. That gives you that range of your hip for your hip. If his ankle is down by my hip, now I'm gonna feel blocked by his shin. His shin is going to block my hip. Now it's really hard to wrap my leg around his hip. So when you're hitting ashigaramis, that ankle should be in your armpit. If you do that, it's very simple to have this leg wrap around his leg. When you're hitting this technique, your right leg, it can go from this hip or to this hip. Either one is fine. Okay? There is a little bit more control, notable more control, if my foot is on this side. So that lets my knee stay closed. And then I've got some control over this hip, and I've got this hip all isolated and blocked out. Okay, but this is not a bad ashigarami. This is fine as well to have the hook on this side to be able to lift. This one is just much more control. We've got both hips, and it's a little tighter in nature. Okay, your foot in this irimi style is toes out. It toes out, foot on the hip, heel facing in. It will not stay that way when we start to reap. It may cup in and turn your toes in and go through the middle. But for right now, I want my toes out. It's a safer position for my leg. My hips need to be high, up behind the knee. That way we can move Lance's knee. We got his hip already, but I can move and bend his knee and get ready for a really strong reaping scenario. If my hips are low, I'm not gonna have any control over either his hip or his knee, and it's gonna be a failed position. So I wanna make sure you guys have your hips up, glued up underneath the knee. Your leg wraps around well. It should be hamstring above the knee. My opposite leg should be closed with my foot on the far hip. And then you guys could or could not have an overwrap. That's irrelevant. Okay, so I think it's important that we just take a minute and you sharpen up your ashigarami position, that irimi or that standard ashigarami position, or what some call single leg X. And then you can begin an onslaught of things from here, even though, as I mentioned before, that standard ashi, if there's no rules in mind, if you don't care really about rules, I think it's highly beneficial that you skip this scenario and just go immediately into the leg reap. Although this is a very good technique to learn, there's some merit in understanding the position. But as far as high-level offense goes, we could forego that and just start reaping right away and getting some nice reactions out of that.